Hey everybody, happy Friday. You're here with me, Maureen Walbioff. I'm a nonprofit digital strategist and technology coach. And every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Time, I come live and we talk about something that has to do with nonprofit technology. I want to give a little pitch before we jump into today's topic. Next week, I'm having a very special guest join me here on Facebook Live at 12:30 Eastern on the 17th. Rachel Jelinek of Reflection Films is going to be joining me to talk about how to get your plan for your nonprofit video straight before you even start filming so you can get a good return on your video investment. It's an area that she knows a lot about. I don't know anything about really, so I'm looking forward to learning right along with you as we bring Rachel here next Friday, 117 at 12:30 Eastern Time. Okay, so I just need to situate myself because this topic pushed some buttons for me, and I want to remain grounded when I talk with you about this today. I've been getting asked a lot of questions lately about the best apps for managing and tracking remote workers' time, right? Like a virtual time clock. And as I said, it's pushing some buttons for me. Today's topic is related to technology, but the root issue of why people want time tracking software for their remote employees has to do with trust. One thing you might not know about me is that I have not worked in a physical office since 2007, and I'm not going back anytime soon. I've been a fully remote worker since late 2007, early 2008. I did have the chance to work like 1 day a week remotely when I was working at a nonprofit organization way back in the Wayback Machine. I had a commute that was more than an hour each way from my house to the executive offices for that nonprofit organization. And so when gas prices really started soaring in the mid 2000s, my boss was nice enough to say, you can save some money, I trust you, you can work from home 1 day a week. So I practiced it a little bit. And then in 2007, I was fortunate enough to get invited and asked to work with a group of people who were forming a fully remote digital agency for nonprofits. Fully remote. We didn't have an office for a really long time. Every single one of us worked from home offices across the country. We worked on nonprofit tech, right? Like websites and email marketing and databases and marketing automation and strategy, which is why I do what I do now. But that managing the project stuff and the tech stuff was really just a part of my job. I was also responsible for hiring and managing people who worked from home offices all over the country in different time zones and leading that team. It's the part of my career that I am most proudest of because we started this in 2008 and it was really weird. It was unique, it was rare to have a business that was not related to a brick and mortar address. We didn't have that. And, you know, there were no video meetings, there was no Slack, there were none of these great tools that let us collaborate and make it really easy to work like this. You know, we used AOL Instant Messenger. Like that was our chat system because there wasn't anything else. It's funny to think back in 2008. We had to figure out how to deal with things like communication and culture and collaboration and how to manage people who weren't physically in front of you ever. They were always somewhere else. And we got really, really good at it. We certainly weren't the first people to do it. There's been remote work for a really long time around the world, but we were sort of pioneers in the small business digital agency for nonprofit space. Just about everybody else was related to some kind of other company or physical structure. You know, they were very traditional in how they hired people and how they worked. We weren't perfect by any means, and those of you who've worked with me in the past, I don't need any stories, but certainly we made our blunders. But we developed a model of work that worked for our structure, for our setup. And, I did that job for 10 years. So as tools came in, as Slack came in, as Skype and video conferencing came in, we rolled those things in. So certainly the way that we managed remote stuff was different by the time I left than it was when we started. But the foundation of our success had nothing to do with the technology, and it had everything to do with trust, the other T word. Trusting that folks were working, trusting that they were collaborating and communicating, trusting that they were making decisions with our clients and our company, the best interest of those things in mind. And that doesn't matter where somebody works. You could be in an office building right now with an entire organization's worth of staff, and 2 offices down, you really have no idea whether someone is making decisions in the best interest of the right things, or collaborating or communicating. You really don't know unless you're working with that person on everything every single day. So we trusted our staff, we trusted each other, we trusted our partners. Everything was built on kind of the foundation that my dad gave me and my sisters and my brother years ago, which is, I'm going to trust you until you show me that I can't trust you. So every new person who got hired in was completely trusted by everybody else on the team, and hopefully that lasted a really long time. We had some bad apples, right? Nobody hires 100% good people. This happens in an office too, but 99% of the time, our trust was completely reinforced over and over and over again by our rock star team. We did have a problem with remote work, as it turned out, which was people worked too much. They started too early. They worked too late. They picked work up on weekends. It was great to be that busy that everybody felt like they had to do some extra to meet our demand for our services. But we spent more time talking with people about, you got to take a day off. I don't want to see you logged on when I log on at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7. I was probably one of the worst offenders. But I don't want to get emails from you over the weekend. That was really where we spent a lot of our staff time, was helping people know when to stop working. And that's true whether you're in an office or not in an office. It's kind of easier to do when you work from home because you don't have that physical, I get up and get in my car and drive away. And it's all because we trusted people. If you're curious about how we kept tabs, right? How we kept tabs on what people were doing, it was really, really simple because we didn't have a lot of methodology or systems at that point. We really did like 3 things. The first was we utilized chat, instant messenger at the time, as our signal to each other when we were working. So when you logged on for the day, you logged on to chat, and the little green light next to your name in my messenger turned green, and I knew that Cheryl was working. When you logged off at the end of the day, you signed out of chat. And for a long time, AOL Instant Messenger used to play a noise. It played a sound on my computer when people logged off, which was like a door closing. And it really did give me the mental image that, okay, Nate's just left for the day. He's walked 12 feet, from his home office into his living room, but he's gone. We also used our status on Instant Messenger or chat to let people know if we were do not disturb, or we would shut down our chat if we were doing screen share and we didn't want somebody's silly message kind of popping up for others to see. Chat was a really great tool for us to kind of get a sense of where people were at in their workday. That was number 1. Number 2 was we had a policy where every calendar in the organization was shared. Certainly could make appointments private whenever you needed to, but the rule was full calendar sharing and the ability to book meetings with each other. So it was very easy to look and see how people were spending their time by taking a quick peek at their calendar if we needed to. Again, most of the time people were too jammed. It's really easy to see how they were spending their time. The third thing that we did that may not apply to your nonprofit or your remote team is that our billable staff, like our web developers, our strategists, our project managers, all needed to enter a part of their time every day into our project management tools. That was mostly for us to be able to accurately bill our clients. We really didn't use that as a staff monitoring system at all. It was mostly so we knew what to charge client A, B, and C because Nate did these things during the week. That's it. That's all we used. It was so easy to tell when a team member was struggling or not using their time effectively. We dealt with performance issues just like I did when I managed people in a physical office. There was only one time where we did have to say to somebody, it was a new hire, you're not working, so it's time for you to go. We found this out, actually. It was early days of their tenure, and we found this out because they were silly enough to post a message on Facebook that said how much they loved their new job because they got to take naps during the day. So in retrospect, they were probably canned just as much for being dumb as they were for not working during their work days. If you're looking for software so that your remote workers, whether it's all of them or some of them, are able to sort of punch in and punch out, and it's because you need to know that they're working, I want you to hit the pause button. You don't need that time clock software unless, like me, you had people who had billable time and you wanted to track it. You're asking for time clock software because you don't believe that people who aren't in front of you are working the way that you expect them to. And if that's true, you've got a performance issue with someone or several people. Maybe they're not the right person to be working remotely. Some people just aren't cut out for it. They need the structure of an office environment to perform. They need to be physically around people in order to feel as though they're plugged in and working together. Some people need the social aspect of working in an office. You know, I've had people who were great at their job, but they just felt like they were just trapped in their houses all day. So it wasn't a great fit for them. And, you know, they went and found another job where they could go have happy hour with their coworkers. We couldn't do that. Ask yourself who you need to talk to, what the performance issues are, and if the only reason you need a virtual time clock app is so that you've got proof and you can go to that person and say, Jim, where were you? You're fooling yourself, because Jim can very easily clock in, watch Judge Judy all day, and clock out. That's not how you're going to know. You're going to know through the way that you always know, which is work quality, rapid response time, or whatever the response expectations are for email and other communications, and what you're hearing from other people on the team. You know, I gave X person that thing and it's overdue by 2 weeks. That situation probably has nothing to do with where they sit when they do their work. Think about your level of trust with the people that you work with. Do I trust my team? Why or why not? What goes into that equation for me? What data do I need to reinforce the trust that I have? Times have changed, right? The job market is tight right now. Hopefully it will continue to be. We've got way more systems and applications and processes and tools than we did when I first started doing this remote management stuff way back in 2008. It is challenging to manage people, whether they're in front of you or hundreds of thousands of miles away from you. That is no joke, being a good leader, being a good manager. We're all going to make mistakes. And it is especially challenging if you have a team that's blended. You know, you've got some people who come into the office regularly, Monday through Friday, and you've got some people who all work remote. That takes intention to create that culture, to set up those expectations, to make your thinking visible so that everybody has that sense of we are working together. And the zip code of my computer doesn't have anything to do with how well I'm working or how well my team is functioning. I'm going to leave you with a little tale or just a little thing that someone who worked for me for a long time said to me once when we were talking about how does it feel to work remotely. His name is Nate. Nate, if you're watching, how you doing? He said to me, you know, it feels like we are all in the same office building, but we're all on different floors. So in the case of this team, we had 20 floors of a single office in the building, and everybody sort of came into work and chatted with each other and did their work and then left. We just didn't see each other, but he felt as though we all were part of the same team. We all had the same goals. Expectations were pretty much the same across the board. And he felt like he was working in a real company, in a real team that did really great work for nonprofit clients. And that has stuck with me for a long time. And that's what you need to try to get to. You need to get to that same place where it doesn't matter where I'm sitting. It matters how I'm working, my contribution to the team. And there are some really simple ways, not virtual time sheets and punching in and out, that you can figure that out if you're a good manager. If you're operating from a frame of trust, you are going to be able to unlock some really amazing team building and efficiencies and being able to hire the right person no matter what zip code they live in. You know, why shouldn't you hire the best person from the job even if they're in Nebraska and your organization is in DC? It doesn't make them a bad candidate. And I know that this takes a lot of thinking and changing of your HR policies and stuff like that. But at its foundation, you should trust the people that you work with, no matter where they are in the world. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Last pitch for next week, January 17th, right here at 12:30 Eastern with my buddy Rachel from Reflection Films. And we're going to spend some time talking about video strategy so that you get a good return on the investment you're making in video assets for your organization. I hope if you have had good or maybe some not so great stories about managing people remotely or being managed remotely, pop them in the comments when you're watching this video. I would love to monitor them and send back some answers or my 2 cents about those things. And with that, I'll leave you all for the rest of the day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you here next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.